that it took me to get to this point. And what got me to this point was I was just the opposite of what I am today.
Now. I
Right,
mean, you genuinely are a legit badass. And
right,
at one point in time, you were a legit terrified person.
yes.
So what was the process? Like, how did you step forth?
Well, it's a long process.
Right.
I My dad beat the shit out of me when I was growing up. I was the first black baby born in this hospital called Miller Fillmore in Buffalo, New York. My dad owned skating rinks, he owned bars, he ran prostitutes from Canada to Buffalo, New York. My dad was a big time pimp, big time anything bad about a person, big time hustler. He was American. You know that movie with Denzel Washington? He was that, but not that bad.
Right.
You know, he wasn't that big, but that's what it reminds me of. He was that kind of guy. And beat the shit out of me, beat the shit out, out of my mom. There was an incident one time when my mom got knocked out on top of the stairs, and he drug her down the stairs by her hair. And at 6 years old, I'll never forget yelling at me saying, "Hey, you got to get up and do something." I didn't want to do shit. I was just afraid, but that voice would force me to get up. And my dad, I tried to beat him up, whatever, at 6, and I get my ass kicked. So this went on for several years. And I have a big time learning disability because my dad didn't believe in us going to school. So my dad, it was about the business, the skating rink and the bar. So when I went to school, I was all kind of, my learning disability. I had social anxiety. I was just a jacked up kid from living in this tortured home. From the outside looking in, we lived in an all white neighborhood. And then we would travel to the ghetto of Buffalo, New York, where the skating rink was at. So we worked around mostly blacks, and I lived around mostly whites, but no one knew. And I'm going to get to the point where they get offended. There was about maybe 10 black families at about 10,000 people in the town. And in 1995, the KKK marched in the 4th of July parade. So this was not everybody was racist. There was a lot of good people. Some of the best people I knew was there, but there was also a lot of racism there. So me being one of the few black kids in that, in that area, it kind of haunts you. I had stuff on my notebook, "Nigga, we're going to kill you," on my Spanish notebook. They had that on my car, "Nigga, we're going to kill you." This is early 90s. And so even though I showed it didn't hurt me, it was jacking me up. So all the insecurities I had when I was a kid with my father, I moved into this area here, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And the shit haunted me. And that voice that I talked about, it kept talking louder and louder and louder, but I was doing nothing about it. It's real. It's who the fuck I am. It's what I am. It's what created me. I had test B. The guy on my right had test C. So I looked to copy on this test, and I couldn't copy on it, so I got like a 20. And I wanted to be an Air Force pararescueman. It's guys that jump out of airplanes and save down pilots. It's a special operator in the Air Force. And my score was so horribly low. And so my mom and I, for a while, we lived in the government subsidized apartments, $7 a month, and also food stamps. And we slowly moved up to a $230 a month place. But at the time, we pretty poor. But my mom afforded enough money for me to go to see a tutor. Training is the water confidence, where they try to pretty much drown your ass. All of our lives we've been breathing. And they take that from you, and they want to see how comfortable you are underwater. And there's only 1% African Americans in special operations. And I didn't know anything about African, like a lot of them are negative buoyant, which I am, because of the bone density. I struggled. But 6 weeks into the program, there was about 25 guys left out of about 150. I was there, and I didn't go to sleep for 6 weeks of the program. And I wanted to quit so badly, but I quit everything in my life. I copied through school. I wanted to prove people wrong. And so here I am in this Air Force program, starting to get a little more confidence, but this water was kicking my ass. And 6 weeks into the program, the doctor gave me a blood test. And I have sickle cell trait, not the anemia, but it still killed people. But so they put me out of training for a week. And when you go from being very uncomfortable in that water situation, and then now you're comfortable, and I'm sitting back watching the guys drown. I'm not part of the activities anymore for this week. I didn't want to get back in that damn water again. So the fear overcame me, and all my insecurities from my dad, from this small town, from everything started coming back. And even though no one knew how fucked up I was, kind of create this other person who was tough, I lived with this shit all the time. So me not wanting to go back in that water, the doctor called me back up. I thought I was going to get like a medical kick out of the military. So no quitting for me. They'll kick me out so I can have some pride. The doctor said, no, man, we could put you back in the training. And I was like, fuck. But after a week, I'm like, you know what? I missed 1 week. There's only 3 weeks left. There's a good chance, I could tough this shit out and go on. But I went back to the CO and the commanding officer of the program, and the sergeant said, hey, you got to start from day one because you missed, that week of training. And I broke. I couldn't imagine going back through that again. So I made up a lie. And I said, man, the sickle cell thing is really scaring me. It was the fucking water. It wasn't sickle cell. And I pretty much quit. Even though they gave me a medical, I quit. So from the age of 19 to the age of 22, I went and did a job called TACP, where you control fast movers behind enemy lines. Cool job, but there's no water. I was afraid of the water, so I avoided it. And I gained 125 pounds in that time frame. I went from 175 to almost 300, to 297 was my heaviest. And I started finding things that was comfortable. And the more things I found comfortable, the more uncomfortable my mind was. Because that voice I was telling you about, it always was there. I was just trying to avoid that conscience. I wanted to be left alone from that conscience, and it wouldn't leave me alone. So I got out of the Air Force, and I started working for a job called Ecolab, where you spray for cockroaches at 24. And spraying at different Steak and Shakes, Red Lobster, whatever, from 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. And what changed, I came home and watched this Discovery Channel show, Class 224. I came home from Steak and Shake. I sprayed it down last, get a big old large 42-ounce shake, walk across the street and get a box of mini donuts from 7-Eleven. And I would drive home for 45 minutes. This big old fat guy who, yeah, I worked out, but I was fat. Not being there. When I was 14 years old, my mom was going to get me married to this great guy. He got murdered. And then I moved back to a small town in Brazil, and everybody was funny. I learned disability, my skin color, me being everything. And so I sat there for a while, and I was like, man, I gotta fucking, no one's gonna fucking come help me. No one's gonna fucking come help me. It's fucking me against me, period. And so I had to man up. And I said, the first thing I started doing is facing every fucking fear I have. What the fuck it is, man. And these things will keep me up at night. No one, people who are hearing this shit, they will never really understand and grasp when you face these things, so many things, how they keep you up and haunt you at night. I think there's a lot of people out there that know what you're talking about. I mean, and so that's what he did. And I had two options. To either be that 300-pound guy that's making contributions of $1,000 a month, and at 24 years old, knowing that I'm 50 fucking years old, and this restaurant got full of cockroaches and rodents and everything else. And I sat there and said, this is my life. I said, this is my life, bro. Exactly. Who the fuck? This is it. And I said, I'm going to do it. So in that restaurant, I quit my job, left my canister in that restaurant, my spray canister, got back in my Ecolab truck, and I went home. And I started working out like somebody. I became the most obsessed person on the planet Earth. And I was basically, I had to invent a guy that didn't exist. I had to invent a guy that could take any pain, any suffering, any kind of judgment, be called nigger, be called whatever the fuck in the world, and get a stand in front of him and say, go fuck yourself. I had to build this callous mind, and I built it through suffering. I built it through downright fucking just crushing myself. If it was raining outside, if it was fucking or if it was snowing, the first thing is don't walk like this shit. I am. They kept fucking not good enough, man. This isn't for you, man. These guys are the baddest motherfuckers on the planet Earth. You're not that. And what it was, and it's kind of funny, I was obsessed with Rocky. Rocky 1 in particular. And when I was a kid, I'd come home every day and I'd watch this fucking show. And I would fast forward with the VHS tapes to round 14. Round 14 fucked me up like nobody's business. Why? The song came on, right? So when I bought the pull-up record, I listened to the song for 17 hours. It's 2 minutes and 13 seconds. And I'm able to visualize and dream like nobody's business. And I know that I can create awful lot. And then the bike got easier. I was able to run more. I went from like 1 mile. 1 mile is a great accomplishment. 2 miles, and went from 2 to 3. Was a bigger deal. I went from 3 to 6. And then they have a warning order that they give people to get ready for buds. And the whole thing was running 6 miles 5 days a week. And that was my goal. And so I just kept, I failed, I go back to scratch. I used some positive motivation. I had like one day I was like fucking defeated. But I started to realize this is part of the process. This is part of the journey. I didn't realize this is part of the process. Versus just saying, like I used to, I'm not that good enough. If I'm not good enough, we always say that shit. Well, it's not good enough. Let me try something else. I'm gonna fucking make myself good enough. And that became my mentality. I'm gonna make myself good enough. And so I'm misunderstood a lot, but that's all it came down to. I made myself good enough. And the days I didn't run that far, the next week, I would do 2 a days. So like on the running, if I ran a quarter of a mile, I waited for a couple hours and it haunt me, bothered me. I tried to run half a mile next time, the same day. Because you can do more than this. If I had to walk, I had to walk. It became just a process of grinding and grinding. And grinding ain't a good word for it. It's not even a good word for it. And just going further and further. And then when I got through running, I go to the bike. If I got time somewhere, laser tired, I go to the gym. And I developed this crazy workout where I was doing volume, like 200-300 reps of like very lightweight. People always say, how come you don't have any like loose skin? My workout routine in the gym became sick. It became sick. I was just doing 200-300 reps, 400 reps on like chest, just like for one simple exercise, the bench press. And I would rack it, get back on it, just rep it out. Trying to burn as many calories as I can, build that muscle mass. And just became obsessed with it.
So when you're doing this, are you worried at all about repetitive stress injuries or the fact that your body's not conditioned for this? And you're basically taking your body where you abused it,
Right,
and now you're forcing it to live like an elite athlete.
right. I didn't care. I didn't know any better. I didn't think about it. I didn't know that working out that hard would fuck you up.
Did it fuck you up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's one reason I moved to yoga. So I don't talk about it a lot, but the stress in my life getting to point 4 caused me to have some severe psoas issues. I know it much. The psoas muscle is what we use. It's your hip flexor muscle. And basically under stress, it starts to tighten up. And I stuttered from the time I was in 3rd grade, the time I was in 7th grade, white blotches on my skin. I was a nutcase. And so the insides of me are also getting fucked up. So in this process, my psoas muscle got real tight to my T12. I can show you the photo of that. I can't show it over, but I started growing this fucking like large tumor looking back in the back of my head from my body compressing. So I'm 6'1", but my muscles are like 5'9", because I just started the muscle tightness from my psoas going to my T12. I was just getting tighter, my quads, everything gets tighter from this stress in my life. So the more I stressed my body with the workouts, my lower body became out of balance. So I had a bunch of stress fractures, a bunch of injuries going through buds. And how I got through buds was they gave me my 3rd time. It was my last time going to Hell Week. I would basically put a black sock on at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would get duct taped. I had numerous stress fractures on both of my legs because my on itself. And my legs were like almost pronated really bad, putting stress on my shins. And so I would put duct tape. I would duct tape my feet, and I would show you the top of them where I have pressure ulcers the size of quarters from, how the ankle joint, so the foot goes to the shin, and how you move this. When the tape was so tight, it just created a nice ulcer right there. And I just kept going.
So you just use that tape to just support your ankles.
Right, so I basically cast myself, and for the first 30, 45 minutes, the pain was excruciating, but then it didn't
Long-term damage?
I've been out for 5 years, so I retired from 21 years in the military. I did time in the Air Force, and I did about 16 years in the Navy.
How old are you?
43.
So you look like you're 30.
That's good. That's good.
You look very young.
Whenever I'm stressed, I get after it. I fix whatever's bothering me. So I basically, for the last 5 years, everything I've done in my life, I did it being very unhealthy. I've never talked about it. I just kept going. And it cost me pretty much I was breaking my insides out. Adrenal issues, tons of adrenal issues, thyroid issues, anything with endocrine system pretty much shut down on me. My organs were pretty much shut down. And I went from a guy who could run 205 miles to a guy who couldn't get out of bed. And the doctor just told me surgery was wrong. That's why I figured out the psoas muscle. No one figured it out. And I hit it by accident. So I was too much stuff in my life. And so what happened was all the shit I did to myself, all the stress I was under, physical, mental, all kind of shit, it just choked me out from the inside. And the doctors put me on all kind of medication. The medication started giving me antibiotics and all this kind of shit. I was on DHEA. I was on some different things for my estrogen, different things for my. I was on anything to do with your, like with your endocrine system. Thyroid medicine. Good God, I was on cortisol, all kind of shit to get my stuff. I had like this lump in my throat, and like the heart was already. I couldn't run down the street. My body was just jacked up. Couldn't sleep. My whole body was just down, shut down. I could give you a lot more than that, but